Thank you for staying with us. President Uhuru Kenyatta may just have opened a Pandora's box just after the government paid 1.4 billion shillings to two firms owned by tycoon Anura Pereira. Parliament's Public Accounts Committee today learned that another company owned by the same tycoon is demanding 3.05 billion shillings from the government for yet another Anglo leasing type contract that was cancelled. Treasury Principal Secretary Dr. Kamau Thoge fears that should the company file a suit against Kenya and succeed, then Kenya's economy will again be at risk. Sylvia Chebet sat through the proceedings and now gives us the highlights.
Despite clearing a 1.4 billion shillings debt as ordered by foreign courts, the government is still haunted by other unresolved Anglo-leasing type projects, particularly one called Project Flagstaff. It was a National Intelligence Service project awarded to Sierra Systems, a company said to belong to Anura Pereira, the business mogul who also owns the two companies that successfully lodged suits against the government.
What attracts our attention to this particular project is your own confirmation that Mr. Anura Pereira, in addition to what you paid him on Monday, has already filed another claim.
Demanded.
He has demanded payment for project number 18, the so-called Project Flagstaff. So we want you to confirm that Mr. Anura Pereira has claimed not less than 3.05 billion shillings.
If we just put that there's a demand note of the $40 million, rather than saying minimum, because now minimum
value of the contract.
You leave it hanging there, it could be 100 million.
Interestingly, Project Flagstaff is the only project whose status is not known. Auditing firm PricewaterhouseCoopers that audited the rest of the projects was unable to audit the project, apparently for security reasons.
Does this thing not look like a conspiracy to pay Anura Pereira's projects only? Because the rest of the people are nowhere to be seen. But Anura has been paid 4 of them, and the 5th one is you have a demand on your desk, which you are thinking of looking at it in a way whether you can pay or not.
Remember, Mr. Chairman, that these were put in immediately after the suspension. Only this one has never been filed. All the others were filed immediately in 2006. And I think that cannot be a conspiracy.
No, but when do you think the demand by Anura Pereira came? Was it a long time ago?
No.
Like what period do you think the last project 18, when do you think his claim might have come?
Mr. Chairman, if I'm correct, I think the demand has been there since 2006. The problem, of course, as we said, is that, yes, the demands have been coming, but because of the other claims of Pereira, which were being dealt with by the same people involved, that is the consultants and the group, it was kept in abeyance because we haven't actually had evaluation done, Mr. Chairman.
But according to Treasury, this is a serious cause for concern, especially because the government was at the brink of a budget crisis following the 1.4 billion shillings court award that was reportedly blocking the government from accessing 140 billion shillings through a sovereign bond.
Because we recognize this as a contingent liability. If indeed he goes to the court and he wins, and Mheshimiwa there said, if he wins in a court of law and we still want to be able to access the international financial markets, he can again block our access next year. So I think, Chair, because of this process, maybe you have more clout in terms of actually trying to find out how much was actually done.
5 Anglo-leasing type projects, collectively valued at 13 billion shillings, were awarded to companies associated with Anura Pereira. The other 13 contracts worth 42 billion shillings were awarded to firms associated with another business magnate, Deepak Kamani. The government is apparently pursuing a refund of nearly 4 billion shillings for some 5 projects that were partially completed.
Was Kamani also directly asked to refund? Did you communicate with him?
No, Mr. Chairman, to my recollection.
Because if I owe you money, you should ask me to refund you.
Yes, of course, Mr. Chairman, as you well know, the legal implications, the procuring entities and the contractors, lifting the veil is a process, and I think that is what the committee was being asked to go through.
So Mr. Kamani does not know that he owes the government money?
I'm 100% sure he knows, because there is nothing secret in Kenya, Mr. Chairman. Because anything, this letter
has been,
no,
if there is anything that has defined policing, is secrecy, secrecy, secrecy.
When you are demanding money from contractor, you have to communicate to him in writing. You can't just say he's aware because he read the newspaper, and maybe you say another command. This place, this parliament, at one time, somebody allocated land. And he came to the floor and said, no, I'm not that name, somebody else. So you can't say he knows the place.
But Mr. Chairman, I was trying to explain.
You are telling the committee
yes,
that government has never written to Mr. Deepak Kamani demanding a refund of this 8 billion.
no, the demands were made to the companies, the procuring entities, because then lifting the corporate bill requires a different process.
We have that.
Meanwhile, the Law Society of Kenya has written notices to Attorney General Professor Gethu Muigai, Solicitor General Nje Muturi, and Senior Deputy Solicitor General Muthoni Kimani to show cause why a certificate of disowner should not be issued against each one of them. In the letters, Chairman Eric Mutua notifies them that the LSK Council noted that they issued misleading legal opinion besides entering into illegal consent to pay off the money. Sylvia Chebet, Citizen Live at 1.
Now, in many rural parts of Kenya, majority of women deliver at home without a skilled birth attendant and far from any emergency obstetric care facilities, and this has led to a high rate of obstetric fistula in Kenya. Obstetric fistula is a medical condition in which a hole develops between a woman's private parts with either the rectum or bladder after severe or failed childbirth. Now, this week the country observed the Fistula Week camp, and this week the country observed the Fistula Week, and the Fistula Week camp was held at Machakos General Hospital. Joining us live on phone now is Dr. Kisa Wakasiaka, fistula surgeon, Kenyatta National Hospital. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Right. Let's begin with the fact that, of course, as I earlier mentioned, fistula is the most devastating and serious of all childbirth injuries. How prevalent, how serious a situation is it here in Kenya?
Fistula is a common problem, especially in the third world where Kenya is. Fistula affects women who have been unable to deliver well and under skilled birth attendants. So in Kenya, we estimate about 1,000 women yearly who develop fistula after childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an estimated of about 30,000 women who require repair.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the maternal mortality in Kenya, if it's 408 per 100,000 live births, for every death of a woman, 20 to 30 women have childbirth injury, in which fistula is one of them.
Right. And, you know, we do know that these cases are more prevalent in the grassroots area where women do not have access to health facilities, particularly the far-flung grassroots areas. Are women in the grassroots being empowered on the importance of giving birth at the health facilities?
You know, in Kenya, you find that more than 44% of the women are the only ones that access stillbirth delivery. Almost 60% of the women still deliver at home. So we have a big problem because these ones, we are not able to monitor their labor and detect whether there is a lack of progress or obstructed labor. And in that case, then these women are the likely culprits to develop obstetric fistula after childbirth. They are also likely to develop complications, other complications that will come as a result of childbirth, including death.
Mm-hmm. But are these cases preventable, even as we talk about 30,000 women requiring repair, requiring surgical repair, and 1,000 women actually currently, an estimate of 1,000 women getting fistula at least annually. Are these cases preventable?
Fistula is completely preventable. And also, if it's found early, it can be cured completely. The problem sometimes is the women having delivered in the village, they are rejected. The women are abandoned, they are very poor, so they may not be able to access the service. But if only they deliver under skilled birth attendants, then they are likely to prevent fistula. And if only they come to the hospital early enough once they have developed a fistula, then surgery can be done and they can heal completely. We do about 30% of all the fistulas yearly, and we still have a backlog of women who are still waiting to be assisted. We have support from collaborators who support the government of Kenya. We have the UNFPA, the African Medical Research Foundation, the Flying Doctor Society of Africa, Freedom from Fistula Foundation, the Fistula Foundation as it is itself is a new entrant. But all these organizations come in to support those women who have been injured already, who have developed fistula, and offer free service, therefore, to these women, and at the same time also support reintegration back into the society after the fistula has been repaired.
Right, and as just a fact there that you mentioned regarding reintegration, women with fistula, of course, are predisposed to high levels of depression. Can you tell us how are you managing this? What strides have been made, and particularly now that the country was observing the World Fistula Week, what exactly is being done regarding just getting these women reintegrated into society? As a surgeon, many times we always think that once we have closed the fistula, the woman can go back to the society spontaneously. But we also have to realize that these women have already been divorced and have been rejected by the society. They live in stigma and they live in shame. So when they go back to the society after the fistula has been closed, it's going to be difficult sometimes to convince the people in the community that this woman is now healed. So one of the things that can be done is, one, to train them to do so that they do some income generating activities that can support them before the society finally welcomes them. And the other thing is to teach or to create awareness to the community that the fistula is preventable, and the fistula can be cured, so that the women are not divorced or separated or rejected. This way, then they are able to be welcomed into the society easily, and they can get employment once the fistula is healed. Right.
The biggest problem sometimes is the shame that comes with leakage of urine and stool and the smell that accompanies that. So it becomes very difficult for anybody, including the husband, to relate with them well.
Okay. And as we close this week, of course, we observed the Fistula Week. You are holding camp at Machakos General Hospital. Just as we wind up in summary, exactly what has been going on there and why Machakos General Hospital, is there a particular point why you focused on this particular part of the country?
In the past 1 week at the Machakos Hospital, we have seen over 8 women who came up for screening, and we managed to find fistulas in 22 of them who have been repaired in the course of this week. Machakos County was chosen not because it has many fistulas, but every county has fistulas. Some counties may have more because of poor access and the fact that the people might be very poor to access the service. But the other thing that we must think is that Machakos as a county is one place where the fistula services started in Kenya. And so we were coming back home, where we had started the program, to see the impact of what we have been doing in the last 10 years. since we started this activity aggressively.
Okay.
And we are happy to note that the numbers seem to be coming down. The awareness seems to have grown up, and many hospitals now many women in the county are accessing service in terms of emergency obstetric care. We're also happy that the government of Kenya waived the fee for the women coming to access maternal services in the whole of the country. This one, which was a big hindrance, would then therefore help us, the women, to come up early enough should there be obstructed labor and an emergency cesarean section can be performed easily. The other thing we are happy about in Machakos County is the fact that the county has provided in every location an ambulance. Because that usually becomes a critical thing when the woman is in labor and the decision to go to hospital comes up and there is no vehicle or support system from the county or the government for this woman to reach the hospital.
Okay.
So this county is covered with ambulances in every location, which is a very good gesture.
Okay.
We believe that this is going to impact very heavily in reduction of fistula, in reduction of mothers dying in labor, and therefore improve maternal care services.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. We've been talking to Dr. Kisa Wakasiaka, fistula surgeon, Kenyatta National Hospital. He is at the fistula camp at Machakos General Hospital. And of course, just saying that the Ministry of Health indeed is creating awareness and indeed just urging mothers in far-flung areas to make their way to the nearest health center even before labor starts, just to avoid cases of fistula, which are often associated with lack of access to health facilities when giving birth. And let's move on. And police officers from Mai Mahio in Naivasha are holding 2 suspects who were found ferrying bang worth over 1 million shillings. The 2 are being held at Mai Mahio police station moments after the incident at a roadblock along the Narok Mai Mahio road. The bang was being ferried to Mombasa from Migori when the police officers intercepted the vehicle. The suspects then tried to flee but were nabbed a few meters from the scene. Mai Mahio OCS Festus Kisinga confirmed the incident, saying that the bang was packed in 41 polythene bags.
The vehicle in front of us, KAX 276D, which was coming from Narok direction towards Nairobi. And we suspected the same vehicle. And then on searching, we found these polythene bags of banky stashed in the boot and the rear seat.
A section of leaders drawn from across the political divide have come to the defense of Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru. The leaders are urging Kenyans to remember that the road towards women's political empowerment has been long and tedious, and that the women in office, Waiguru included, have been performing well. Waiguru is up against an impending impeachment process led by a section of members of parliament championed by Mithika Linturi of the Alliance Party of Kenya.
Kenya has gone through very difficult times, and women of this nation have gone in women empowerment process. It has been very difficult, very frustrating, very unfortunate. It has been a lot of struggles for the women of this nation, and not again another woman. Not after we have lost Nasi Barasa, not after we have lost Gladys Sholay. Not again do we want to see another woman to be the subject of discussion.
Transparency International Kenya now wants the president to immediately institute a public inquiry to probe the entire Anglo leasing scam. Speaking during a press conference today, TI Executive Director Tek Samuel Kimeu said that the inquiry should conduct an audit to establish the legal processes that led to the payment of the 1.4 billion shillings this week.
It is unfortunate that as a public we have to shoulder this burden, because these contracts, I think many of them were already investigated by various bodies in this country, and corruption and manipulation of procurement process were identified as key defenses that we could provide in these cases. We, of course, feel that it is important for the country to understand what happened so that we can pay this 1.4 billion. And the way to do that is to look at the defense and the process of prosecuting that defense so that we understand whether we were properly defended in the courts.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance has termed the payment of 1.4 billion shillings to 2 Anglo-leasing linked contracts as a necessary evil. The umbrella body for private businesses in the country, however, says that the entire justice process must still be pursued. According to KEPSA, the country needs to clear the way for the Euro bond, which could unlock close to 140 billion shillings in capital. KEPSA says the bond will enable the government to fund infrastructure projects that are critical to the development of this country. The bond will also reduce government borrowing on the local market, making it easier for the private sector to borrow much needed funds to expand their production capacity.
We must make sure we speeden that up, because otherwise we'll have to cut our budgets in this country. We'll have to cut all growth aspects in this country. We do not want that to happen. If to unlock the Euro bond, we had to make this payment, the payment has to be made under protest. We have the right to revert on that and appeal on that case. We insist, and I think the government has already said it clearly, that the corruption authority or even the entire justice procedure must be taken to see how we can recover that money or how we can bring those people to book if there was an unforeseen payment.
So it's better to go for a Euro bond where you're in charge of what you want to do with that money, meet the budget gap, meet your infrastructure needs and other development issues, instead of going for a multilateral organization that comes with all these other conditions. By the time you fulfill those conditions, time has passed and you've not achieved your goals.
Kiambu Governor William Kaboko has urged investors from the county to oblige with the Finance Act and continue paying taxes despite a court order declaring gazettement of the bill null and void. Speaking during a meeting with investors from the county and officials from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the governor assured the investors that his government will roll out measures aimed at creating conducive business environment in the county. The local manufacturers urged the county government to consider reviewing the Finance Act in a bid to relax some laws which might make it hard for businesses to thrive in the county. Last year, the county residents moved to court to challenge the new Finance Act, which sought to introduce new taxes and hike the existing ones, as the county sought to raise 12.6 billion shillings to boost its budget.
The Kiambu County government to engage with the business community. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
And more than 60% of hotels in Malindi and Watamu have reportedly closed shop as the effects of last week's travel advisories continue to be felt. According to Philip Chai, the Kilifi branch chairman of Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers, at least 5,000 employees have since lost their jobs. A number of players in Kilifi County want the government to act fast and sort out the issue on the diplomatic front. Tourism stakeholders have been in meeting with the government since Wednesday this week, discussing ways of rescuing the tourism sector.
Number of employees who have been sent home looking from all over the coast is coming to 5,000 employees. Bearing in mind that every employee supports a minimum of 5 members of his family, that is to say over 40,000 people have been affected by the travel advisories.
We would suggest the government at this moment to try as much as it can to put a good word outside, to advertise Kenya even more.
And the Kenya shilling continued trading on rather weak note, staying above the 87 shilling mark in today's early mid-morning trade. The shilling shed off 3 cents against the US dollar to trade at 87 shillings and 77 cents buying and 87 shillings 94 cents selling. Against the European currencies, the Kenya shilling was posted mixed trading results, gaining 19 cents against the sterling pound to trade at 148 shillings 3 cents buying. The local currency, however, dropped 16 cents against the euro to trade at 119 shillings and 75 cents. On the regional front, the Kenya shilling was exchanging at 28 shillings and 72 cents buying, 18 shillings and 85 cents buying against the Ugandan shilling and Tanzanian unit respectively. And time now for sports. Bernard.
Good afternoon.
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Of course, lunchtime news bulletin will not be complete without sports.
Absolutely.
Precisely. Very interesting stories coming up after the break, including a female coach will be taking charge, guess what, of a men's football team. To tell you who it is. I can tell you happy about that.
Girl power.
Precisely. We know who that is after this.